Hi, I'm Jessica Brody, author of The Karma Club and My Life Undecided, and you're watching Radio Disney Club.
Hey Radio Disney Club fans and watchers of the Rising Stars web show! It's Hannah Joy, and I know this looks kind of different how this is recorded, but it's because I'm Skyping with national bestseller Jessica Brody.
I started when I was 7 years old. I was writing novels. Well, they're only about 8 pages, so I don't know if you can call them a novel. But I used to publish them myself with wallpaper and cardboard, and I would make these little books. And so that was kind of my first parlay into writing. And then for a long time, I kind of gave it up, and I was concentrating on doing business. And I majored in economics, and I became like a business analyst and something very important sounding. And then it wasn't until about 7 years ago when I decided to get back into writing. The first book that I ever published was The Fidelity Files, although I did write a book before that never got published, so that's sitting on my proverbial shelf. So that was the first one that I actually got to be published. I wasn't published in any magazines or anything before that, so that was kind of my first big thing. The first 2 books, The Fidelity Files and Love Undercover, are what they call general fiction. Those are more for adults. And then my most recent 2 books, The Karma Club and My Life Undecided, which comes out in June, those are both young adult, and I call them young adult chicklet because they're kind of like for girls, and they're fun.
That's hilarious. Operation the Buttercream, and the other one, what was that? And of course the Cafeteria Lady. I mean, that book was so full of it. Like I interviewed Madison Hill, and she was the one who talked about the book, and I found out that she was on the soundtrack, and so that was what inspired me to go to the library and actually read it. And
great!
Once I did, and I watched it, I was like, oh my goodness! I was like, okay, that goes in my top 10 for favorite book ever. I really love the whole balance of the universe theme.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I had a lot of fun coming up with all these different revenge schemes. Like the book's about these 3 girls who take karma into their own hands and decide to get back at people because they don't think that karma's doing its job. So I had to come up with all these really fun ways for the girls to get revenge on people that had done them wrong. And it was probably the most fun about writing the book because it's like all my revenge fantasies come to life. Like karmic paybacks that I never actually did.
Exactly.
But, it's funny is I had this whole list of rejected ones, and then I ended up putting them in the book later on. There's a scene when Jade and Angie are brainstorming ideas to get back at a character that I won't mention, but they're in the car, and Maddie's in the back seat, and they're throwing ideas back and forth going, oh, maybe we should, send someone to his house, or maybe we should...
I remember that!
Let's sign him up for a subscription to, some crazy magazine. And so all the ideas I had that were rejected, I ended up putting them in that scene where they're throwing ideas back and forth, and they're rejecting them. So my rejected ideas became their rejected ideas. So you can read that whole list if you read the book.
Like, maybe an ex-boyfriend of your own.
It's so funny. Everyone always asks me, have you ever gotten revenge on one of your own ex-boyfriends? And I will say on the record that I have not. But I actually had the idea because I've always been really obsessed with the idea of karma. And I love this concept that the universe balances out. But then one day I thought, well, what if karma just stopped working? Like, it took a break or went on vacation, and so what happens to all these, karmic imbalances? And so I had this idea about these 3 girls who wonder the same thing, and they've had all these bad things happen to them, and the people that did them never got what they thought they deserved. So that kind of was where the idea sprung into life, was just this idea of what if karma took a break? I actually originally had the idea as an adult novel because that was the only books I knew how to write. So, but when I sent the idea to my editor, she said, A bunch of like 30-year-old women running around getting revenge on people, that's just kind of sad. And so I said, well, then what if I wrote it as a teen novel? And so I had to go out and like research teen novels and start reading a bunch just so I could get a feel for the voice and for, you know, what teens are reading these days. And then I started writing it as a teen novel, and I sent her the first 50 pages, and she really liked it. So that's kind of when I decided to finish it and try to get it published, and it worked. So yay! It works really well for teens because I think teens are still learning about the universe, and they're still learning about how life works and how, you know, how to deal with these kinds of emotions, like when you do get betrayed by someone, how do you deal with that and how do you move on?
I definitely say that your editor was right, young adult novel, and since it was your first, just to say, I would clap if I wasn't holding a camera in my hand, because you really did do a good job on it, and I really enjoyed it, and it was one of those can't put it down to the last page books. So.
Oh, thank you. I really got hooked on young adult. Like after I wrote that one, I decided this is what I want to write all the time. It was so much fun to write, and since then I've sold like 5 more young adult novels. So I just keep writing them and hope that people keep reading them.
You keep coming out with books like The Karma Club. I think that's a guarantee.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You know, it's all kind of an accident. I always say that there's no such thing as accidents, but things just happen the way they're supposed to. We filmed a whole book trailer for the Karma Club, and that's where that's where I met Madison Hill. She came and auditioned for my book trailer, and I cast her as the lead role of a girl also named Madison, which was a coincidence. And so we had this great book trailer, and we needed great music for it, and we decided that instead of trying to find existing music, we would write our own music. And so, you know, I went back to the book and started finding key scenes that would have a really good song that went with it. So mostly like emotional scenes, or there's like a party at the beginning where there's a song playing at the party. We wrote a song for Madison Hill to sing for that scene. So what we did is we ended up coming up with this whole soundtrack, not only that fit the trailer, but that also was a soundtrack that you could listen to while you read the book and kind of get more of a mood-enhancing experience with the music. So that's kind of how the soundtrack came into being, and now it's up on iTunes and Amazon. The book launch was something fun I wanted to do. Because the whole theme of the book is karma and giving, you know, paying forward and giving back. I wanted to do something charity related to release the book because I felt like that was fitting. We did a whole school event. We did like a book fair for the local Santa Clarita schools out here in Southern California. So we had this huge event. We invited all these really cool teen stars out, and we invited some cool like teen singers to sing. A portion of the proceeds went to the schools. So that was really fun, and that's when I met Savannah Uten, who came out to perform, and Josh Golden, who also performed, and then Madison Hill, we invited her to perform too. So it was like this big musical book party. It was really fun.
That sounds really awesome because a lot of books don't get that, so that's really cool that you guys did that, and I think it makes people want to read more.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm really a big believer in bringing the book off of the page because I feel like people that are intimidated to read, like I was when I was a teen, I never read, and I think that's because I was just intimidated by all the pages and pages of words. And so I like coming up with ideas that will bring the book to life and bring it off of the page. So the book trailers are like actual reenactments from the book, then the music, the soundtrack, it makes it, you know, it brings music into the experience and things like that. So I'm always looking for cool ideas of websites to make the book more real.
Your next book is called My Life Undecided. Tell everybody what that is about.
I'm really excited about this book. It's actually, I think, one of my favorite ones that I've ever written. It's about a 15-year-old girl who is notorious for making terrible decisions. And so she starts this anonymous blog, and she decides that she's going to post every decision she comes across on this blog, and she's going to let her blog readers decide on what she should do. So every decision, every choice she comes across, she posts as an online poll on the blog, and people vote, and she does exactly that. And it's it ends up being really funny because she does things that she would have never done on her own because the readers decide it for her. But then, you know, there's kind of a love story involved because the whole idea is that you can't really choose who you fall in love with. It's a story about choice and how it's okay to make mistakes, and kind of another coming of age story about a girl who learns how to deal and learns how to make her own choices.